I almost wish it was episode 96, and I'm not sure why that uploaded because I had 99 ready to go. But welcome to episode 99, the penultimate episode of 2025 for us here on the Wise Guys Sports Show, official YouTube channel, and any of you guys who are going to be joining us on Twitch. I'm going to bring in my partner, Mike Martinez. Mike, we're that close, buddy.
You missed it by this much.
Our first champions pose of the evening, and the gang's
that's
not
2
even here
weeks.
yet.
Yep, that's 2 weeks in a row I got that.
And right out the gate, because I'm an idiot.
No, you're not an idiot. You're the same lovable pain in the ass you've been for 30-some years. How's your Saturday, James?
Very slow, very tiring, very Warframe heavy, but
Nice.
worth it.
Amen. My gaming today was the show because for some reason the EA servers were down today. So there was no Madden to be played, and by extension, no NCAA to be played. So I had to go back to the show. But of course, with this week coming, James, spring training opens this week. I become a happier person on Wednesday.
You know, you know how when you load up ESPN, if you got an account, like all your teams are spread out across the top. I saw my first Guardians and Cardinals preview on the 22nd. It's like we are just over 2 weeks away from having afternoon baseball.
Yes, we are. I will actually be listening to Howie Rose, who will do that game against the Houston Astros. The Mets will open their their Grapefruit League tilt. Yo, did you see the hats?
I'm a little bitter with the pills that I'm on. I can't have grapefruit anymore.
Did you see the hats?
No.
Hold on, I'll put this up to the screen because I'm getting one, and I'm trying to find a kid's version so I can get it for Bobby. Where is it?
Trying to tell me you can't fit a kid's version?
This big friggin' dome I got? Hell no. Don't tell me it's sold out. Yankees. As you hear the sirens in the background. Dodgers, Red Sox, Marlins. It's Mr. Met in a pair of sunglasses. Is the hat? It's an orange hat. It's Mr. Met in a pair of sunglasses, and I adore it. And I'm trying to find one for both Bobby and I. I'll come back to. I'll keep flipping while we're discussing things. But it's been another one of those weeks, Jim, where we've got a ton to get to, and we're going to get our special guest in here as soon as he gets home, as he is out and about right now.
You'll have to give me 30 seconds here because I'm actually downloading something in the background. Something's editing, and it's taking up my screen for a moment.
Oh, what's your break?
Nothing.
Oh, well, hey. Where the hell? This is going to piss me off. Is it taking a second to load?
Yeah.
Oh no, I think it probably got sold out.
And once this finishes processing here in a second, I will be good to go. Now we can start the show.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I was going through some of the OTRs we've had over the years, and what this just reminded me of is the night you and I were talking about Flintstoning, uh, when the wheels came off real quick.
Or me breaking Alex 95 seconds into the show by flying out of Charlotte.
Yes, that was amazing. My other personal favorite is when Alex told us what we should do to the elderly population.
Yeah, we'll save that for one of the other segments of this game, or at least one of them.
Yeah, we'll save it for that. So, what do you say we get to the hat trick while we're waiting for our guest?
It's the three biggest topics in the world of sports from the last week. Get ready for the Wise Guys hat trick.
Get that out of here.
All right, so the first topic this week, of course, is what's going on tomorrow and the NFL in general. But we are going to start with this. And that is earlier this week when Cleveland Browns all-world defensive end edge rusher, what is he, the only player in NFL history with 7 consecutive years of 14-plus sacks?
Correct.
The 2023 Defensive Player of the Year requested a trade. Piggybacking off that for a minute, there's going to be something new coming we're going to tease at the end of the show. This incident inspired it. Jim, my whole thing is this. Listening to Ken Carman's Jabba the Hutt ass this week talk about this, and his partner in crime, and then other guys on that station, and of course Riz and what's his name? That dumb bastard I can't stand.
Goldhammer.
No, he's all right. The other one, the one that ran Baker out of town.
Oh, Grossi.
Yeah, Grossi's stupid face. I don't see how the Browns come out of this smelling like a rose. There's no way. There's absolutely no way.
There's absolutely no way, but for those who have been living under a rock, Michael was correct. Myles Garrett won the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year. He finished third in Defensive Player of the Year voting this year. Sorry, where was TJ? Oh, yeah, that's right. Fourth. He wasn't even on the podium. So,
by the way, just real quick,
shut up.
Hats off to Pat Surtain II. By the way, I didn't realize he had that good of a year, dude.
Oh, I absolutely did. I was following the Broncos from afar a little bit this year with their meteoric rise, with their turnaround, and a lot of people were like, sleeping on him. But then just with Denver's playoff push, part of it was Bo Nix, and the other half was on Patrick Surtain. They don't advance to the first round of the playoffs without him.
No, agreed. Absolutely. But let's talk about what's going on the ground in Cleveland right now. And let's be very blunt about this. And if I could say it, I would appreciate it. But right now, what the trade for this piece of shit, sexual predator fuck, has cost the Cleveland Browns is 3 years of number one picks, which they could have rebuilt the franchise with. It's cost them a salary cap hell that, unless they find a way to negate his contract, they will not recover from for the next 2 to 3 years. And now it's cost them the most iconic franchise player since Joe Thomas. Am I missing anything?
So the the specifics involve Myles Garrett still has 2 years left on a 5-year, $125 million rookie extension. He's on the hook for $19.7 million in 2025 and $20.3 million in 2026 when he would become a restricted free agent. 2 number ones, 3 number ones, that's the minimum asking point. The comments that were made by general manager Andrew Berry have now completely come back to bite him. In his end of season press conference, Andrew Berry mentioned that the goal was for Miles to be here long term and go straight from Cleveland to Canton. At Radio Row and at the Pro Bowl last week, the Pro Bowl games, Garrett said that was never the intention to go from Cleveland to Canton. Basically, he took a direct media shot at his own general manager and
Well,
contradicted him. And
that
then
was also the last line in the release too. Was my goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton, and you can't take that any other way. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
but let's also, I mean, this is good discussion to lead off with, because you're on Miles' side, I'm on the ownership side right now. He's under contract for 2 more years. He has to play this out. He can make this very difficult on the Browns, but the Browns are still going to pay him either way. If they trade him, they are still on the hook for at least half of next year's salary. Regardless regardless of what they're getting back at this point. They could keep him under contract for 5 more years if they wanted to, 2 years here, and then they can franchise him the next 3 if they really wanted to. If he wants to sit out, they can actually deactivate him like they're going to end up doing with Deshaun Watson. They're still going to pay him, but they're basically now at this particular point, by him asking out, that's one thing. But now the talk is, and this is where you probably saw a lot of the conversation with guys like Riz and Grossi and all that, and this is where I kind of side with the Browns. Did he go to the Browns previously, which will probably come out in the coming weeks here as the new season starts officially 1 month from Monday, because remember, it's the Monday after the Super Bowl and then 30 days thereafter.
Yep.
Did he go to the Browns and ask this? Did the Browns say no and try to work with it? And then did he go public with this afterwards? So until things like that come out, I understand that this organization is very poorly run at the top, but I'm going to pump the brakes on basically throwing all of this at the feet of Andrew Berry right now. And I'm going to do something that I typically don't do on this show. And I'm going to put the onus on the player as opposed to on the team for a change.
Well, do you think if that stupid great value Jerry Jones would have not mortgaged the last 5 years of this franchise, he'd be doing this?
Regardless, I think if he doesn't make the Watson move, then we're not at the position that we're in right now, because now,
No.
Well, here's the dominoes, Mike, that nobody else is thinking about, because now you're going to actually end up, there's still talk about possibly, there was a video that floated around that we talked about, I want to say it might not have been last week, might have been the week before, of Watson hugging his girlfriend goodbye, and they're still not time stamping on that. As once he gets his camera set up, we've got company. So we're going to give him a minute or two to get ready here. But now there's going to be dominoes falling out, because now you've lost 3 number ones. You lost a couple of other higher picks in this. And now there's a huge rumor going around that if Miles leaves, Denzel Ward's going to want to go too.
But again, this all comes back to the boneheaded move perpetuated by the owner. Dude, and I'm on Miles' side because I'm on a fan side with this, and I understand why I understand where you're coming from with not putting all the onus on Andrew Berry in the front office. They were dealt a very bad hand. The best thing that could have happened is when they were told they were out on Deshaun, stay out. It wasn't until the owner said give him all the money that this all started. But you have to look, in my opinion, you have to look at it this way. This would not be a topic of conversation with this player if that move was never made. Or, let's now put the onus on that player again, if he actually performed a quarter of what that contract meant. this team was so loaded they could have overcome some poor play at that position. Not to the level they have seen it since he came back from his suspension in 2022, the injury plague 23 and injury plague 24. I mean, Jim, I understand why you're putting some of the onus on Miles here. I get it. 100% I understand it. But at the same time, if all the guy wants to do is play for a contender and win, I think as the front office, you have to deal him. You have no choice. You have to rebuild the franchise. If you don't trade him and get the extra draft capital, this rebuild's going to take 7 years.
Whenever you're ready, John, give us a thumbs up. If you still need a minute or two, we understand. Take your time. Ruh-roh.
It's party time.
How about are you guys able to hear me?
Oh, loud and clear, buddy.
We got
awesome,
you.
Awesome. I had to pick up dinner.
Ooh,
killing me.
It's been a rough night. It's been a rough day. It's been a rough day.
Well, it's about to get fun.
I know. Let's do this. I need some of this in my life right now.
Let's go. So we're talking about Miles. We'll talk about Myles Garrett telling the great value Jerry Jones to trade him, and Jim is on the front office's side. I know you've read the inaugural post of what I'm going to be doing tomorrow with him, so you know whose side I'm on. Where do you land with this?
I land right smack dab in the middle. And the reason why is because I can totally see both sides to the story. Miles wants to play for a contender. Plain and simple. The Browns are not a contender. Who knows how long they even will be to become a contender. I know Denzel Ward came out and said something along the lines of, well, if you just, we're one good quarterback away. I think they are a lot more pieces than just one quarterback. I don't think it's just a quarterback.
John, sorry, but that's I'm sorry to interrupt here as you're just getting going, but that's exactly where I'm thinking and why I'm taking the ownership side. He wants to go play for a contender. If you get a quarterback who can be manageable, once actually you figure out what you're doing with Ward, with him being injury prone, and then once you figure out what you're getting with with JOK coming back from the neck injury, you're going to be able to get some offensive linemen in this draft. They're not that far away.
But
from being playoff contenders. I'm not saying Super Bowl contenders.
No. Yeah. But they are farther. But if they lose Miles, they are even farther than you'd think. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care who wins the DPOY. He is the staple. He's the Lawrence Taylor. He is a Lawrence Taylor type player.
That's a hell of a comparison.
Yeah, like that's who I see when I watch him. Like I see a lot of Lawrence Taylor in him. And just like watching Saquon Barkley, I see a lot of Walter Payton and Saquon Barkley, but that's neither here nor there. But because the dude just doesn't run out of bounds, and he's always constantly fighting for more yards. And Walter Payton did the same thing. The dude never ran out of bounds. But with Miles, like if that's really how he's given us, 8 years?
7?
Yeah.
7? Yeah. 7, 8 years. So, and he has always been there. I mean, when has he been hurt? Like, when has he missed a significant amount of time? And to do that repetitively, year in and year out on one of the worst organizations in the NFL. So that's why I'm on his side. So that's why I'm totally on his side. I'm on the front office side because it's like, listen, you could actually use this to your advantage and get a lot in return for him. And you can set yourself up for maybe not next year, but you can definitely set yourself up for 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Now you're looking at long-term significant positive effects versus the I need to win right now mentality, which honestly, let's be honest, the I need to win right now mentality only works for like a year or two. It's not long standing. It doesn't the test of time. It doesn't hold up usually. I mean, look what the Marlins did. They bought their championships. And then now they've been garbage before and they were garbage after. So it's so whatever. But so if they're looking to try and win right now, they need a lot more pieces to the puzzle, and the problem is that they don't have the cap space to do it.
And that's why and I said this to Jim before he came on. There is no way the organization comes out of this smelling like a rose. It's just not going to happen. You're either going to trade Myles Garrett, which is going to put a stain on you, or you're not going to trade him and piss off the only player you have that's worth anything in the trade market. So I mean, John, let me throw this out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it pains me to say this because of who they team him with. But if Dan Campbell got on the phone and called the Browns and said, "Hey, I'll give you the next 3 number ones, and I'll give you a number 2, and I'll give you a player," and they send him to Detroit, that's scary.
It is.
Although, by the way, the betting favorite right now in Vegas to get him is the Chiefs.
Wow.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because that's actually kind of how I want to end the segment. So, where could he land, and where's the fallout going here with this? Because I've got some. I mean, we're still, a month and a half away from draft here, and I want to throw some ideas out there about if this happened and some of the dominoes fell right before John came on. Could we be looking at the next Houston at this point? But but go ahead.
The reason you're not looking at the next Houston is there's not a C.J. Stroud in this draft. No disrespect to Cam Ward or to Shador or any of them, there is not a C.J. Stroud in this draft. There's not. There are serviceable quarterbacks, but I don't think the Browns should be taking a quarterback in the first round, whether they make this deal or not. I think they have too many holes they need to plug to take a quarterback at 2. If it was me, I floated Jackson Dart. I floated Will Howard, a guy who can come in. You get a veteran, you let him sit, who's serviceable, and he doesn't have to be the end-all, be-all. Because look, how many of the end-all, be-alls have ever succeeded in Cleveland? They haven't. Thank you. I mean, for Christ's sake, the modern Browns from the 70s on, Bernie Kosar was a supplemental pick. He wasn't in the regular draft, and he was great. I mean,
Joe Thomas is really the only one in 25 years.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I talked about it in what I sent to you guys. Couch would have been really good. They didn't know how to protect him. Didn't know how to draft.
He's the best quarterback the Browns have had since they came back in '99. I've said that since the very beginning. He's been the best quarterback they've had since '99, and so far it still holds true. He just he had zero protection.
I would do 1 and 1A with him and Baker. I think the success Baker had, even though he wasn't as gifted as Couch, puts him up toward the top of that list. But where does he land? I honestly think there are 2 places that I think he's going to land. One of them is Detroit. I think that Lions would be absolutely stir-crazy stupid to not throw a bunch of picks. And someone floated Jameson Williams out there as part of a package to go to Cleveland for Myles Garrett. The other place, as scary as this sounds, is the Raiders. And you team him with Max Crosby. They're reloading with Pete Carroll as their new head coach. You got Tom Brady, who, reading the thing about Chip Kelly earlier today, Tom Brady ran that interview as part of the ownership group. I think he stays. If he stays in conference, it's the Raiders. If he goes to the NFC, I honestly believe it's going to be Detroit. John, what do you think, bud?
I think as far as quarterback goes, you go out and get Kirk Cousins. He knows Stefanski's system. He's won in Stefanski's system. He knows how to play in Stefanski's system.
Was he there in Stefanski's system, or was because I know Case Keenum was the miracle in the Minneapolis Miracle?
Yeah, he was there. He was there with Stefanski. Okay. And then draft somebody like a Will Howard 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Will Howard, as much as this pains me to say, has been one of the most impressive players I've seen all college season. He doesn't have the size or the strength, but he reminds me a lot of Roethlisberger in the fact that he's very shifty in the pocket.
Well, he's 6'4", 250. I mean,
so then he does have the size.
Yeah,
but with his size, he's very shifty. He's not like a Tom Brady where he can't move. You know, Will Howard can actually move a little bit. Like he's actually, like I say, he's shifty. I wouldn't mind taking him in third or fourth round, and learning behind somebody like Cousins. But I don't see how they don't take Hunter at 2. He's going to be a Darrelle Revis type cornerback, and where you can just basically put him on the field and not have to worry about him. And you can still design a handful of plays on the offensive side that can incorporate him as a threat. I'm not saying he has to be a dual threat, play all offense, all defense. I think he's going to be a corner in the NFL with some set plays designed for him to get him the ball in space on the offensive side.
Jim, before you answer, I just want to ask John this real quick. Would you make him your main return man?
No.
Okay.
He's too valuable at the corner position.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
No, and trust me, with that kind of stuff, I lean on you because you know it more than I do.
I would just be afraid of him getting hurt in the return.
I agree.
And then losing your star quarterback.
Only on punts at this particular point, because that's the only time people actually return anymore.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Jim, where do you think he lands?
Well, let me put on my Eric Mangini hat and start accumulating picks here. So you got 2 and you got 33. Again, what we talked about just before John came on, there was a strong rumor that if Miles goes, then Denzel may want out. And one of the there's been news outlets that are picking up on that. And one of the names that is very, very closely linked to Denzel Ward, if that were the case, are the Vikings at 24. So let's play devil's advocate. Let's throw everything out there. So you'd have 2, you'd have 33. Because there's no way you'd actually move up to 1 with Tennessee with everything that you're going to end up getting back. And you got 24. Some of the spots that I've actually kind of progressed or I don't want to say, put on my Karnak hat and prognosticated here, but Kansas City at 31 or 32. And then you'd end up getting, if Kansas City wins tomorrow, you'd have back-to-back. So you'd have 32 and 33. Detroit at 28. So you'd have 2, 24, 28, 33. The Raiders at 6 is intriguing because then you got 2 inside the top 6. Tampa Bay at 19 is interesting. Dallas at 12 because Jerry's an idiot and doesn't care about first-round draft picks. But here's one that I'm very, very intrigued by. The Chargers at 22. So if he goes to the Chargers, you got 2, 22, 24, and 33. Either way, you've got 4 inside the top 33. and you wouldn't even need to take any of those picks to be able to move up, because where would you move up?
And now imagine him with Joey Bosa.
Question.
Yes.
He even raised his hand.
The Raiders and the Chargers are still in the AFC West, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And he wants to go play for a contender, right?
Correct.
And the Chiefs are still in the AFC West, correct?
Correct.
So the Chargers and Raiders are not contenders.
Not necessarily, because, and we'll talk about this when we talk Super Bowl in the next segment, but the Chiefs have gotten very old very quick. They're going to be having a coaching change probably after next season. Who's to say that the Chargers are not knocking on that door if Kansas City starts coming back to earth with all the changes that could be happening as early as next season?
I'm saying it because Herbert's overrated.
I agree with that 1,000%.
Wow. You and I are on a roll tonight.
I do, because I don't think he is going to push them over the edge.
I think if between the two, I think the Chargers are a better fit for him to be able to kind of move forward and be able to overtake the Chiefs, because I think the Raiders have more upside for the future, but Garrett's already at 30. So Garrett would have to stick around. He'd be willing to have to stick around maybe a year or two to be able to get to that level. I'm saying with the Chargers, he's got a much better chance of actually kind of sneaking up. Well, actually not even really sneaking up, but kind of challenging Kansas City in a year or two and completely overtaking them, as opposed to knocking on that door.
I definitely agree that the timeline for the Chargers is a lot shorter. I definitely agree there, for sure. But as long as Mahomes is dare I say, almost like Tom Brady-esque, where if he is on the field and healthy, it's his game to lose almost. I mean, look at Brady now. He's in the press box and he's still getting Super Bowls. I mean, come on. The dude's not even on the field anymore, and he's still going to Super Bowls.
Mike, I'm sorry. I got to do it.
Oh, and in reference to John's Dare.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Just in case anybody didn't get that reference. But no, going back to the original question was of where does he land? I would probably suspect somewhere along the lines of Detroit more so than anything. Detroit has a win right now mentality along with long-term goals. Detroit has it all right now. They just need to figure out how to put it all together and overcome, the monkey that's on their back.
And that monkey's name is Dan Campbell in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, exactly.
That monkey's name is Aiden Hutchinson's busted fucking leg.
Well, that
They
too.
win.
That too. But could you
They're the
imagine
ones-
those bookends? Could you imagine those bookends?
That's what I'm talking about.
Like that's
The
the only
the
thing is
three teams-
does Detroit have anything? I don't want to say comparable because you can't. There's nothing comparable to Myles Garrett. But do they have anything that you can plug in right now as a starter and say, you know what, we're good?
Well,
And
probably
leave
not.
them be?
But here's also the other thing is because if you do end up moving Myles, because I was telling Mike that conceivably the Browns could hold him hostage for the next 5 years, the last 2 years on his deal, and then they could
Inconceivable.
franchise him for 3 more.
Yeah, I agree. No, you're right.
But everyone next year, I looked up, every single team in the NFL next year owns their own first round pick. So if you move him, not only are you picking up a 1 next year, but you're going to have 2 number 1s next year. The possibility of, but I got to say, as much as it would actually blow things up, even more than it already is, if you move Myles and Ward wants out as well, 3 first-round picks and the first pick in the second round sounds awful appetizing to be able to fill a lot of holes and then maybe get your quarterback, early in the second round, maybe get somebody like a Howard in the third. Maybe do you take a Jackson Dart at 33? Jalen Milroe has got people drooling all over themselves at the Senior Bowl this week. Jalen Hurts is playing in tomorrow's game and was not a first-round pick. It can be done. You don't need Cam or Shador or
I agree 1,000% with that.
Mm-hmm. But I will say this: the only reason they're drooling over themselves that the Senior Bowl is because of its location. Let's just leave that one right there. I live down here now. Trust me when I tell you, I see it more often than not. Uh, if they take Milrow,
especially people in your office with Packer hats.
John, he has struck up a friendship with Kaylin, the new girl who started in October, and he calls her Georgia Bulldogs hat a Packer hat because it's the G. It's the same G.
No way. That's so funny.
Oh, it's hilarious.
That is funny.
But Jim, what do you say we get to the elephant in the room that is tomorrow when no one's going to watch anything? Yes, that's right. Super Bowl 59. Hard to believe it's 60 years for Super Bowls next year. But listen, it's a second go round for the Chiefs and the Eagles. People gave a shit last time. I think more because the Kelseys were playing against each other in that one than anything else. But listen, we got some history on the line here. No one, not the Spygate-led Patriots, not the Steelers of the 70s, not the 49ers of the 80s, not the Cowboys of the 90s. No one has ever won 3 consecutive Super Bowls. It would be a feat like no other. Personally, I think if that happens, Travis Kelce's hitting a knee, Taylor Swift's going to be riding off into the sunset with him, and he's going to retire. But we also have the Eagles seeking their first title and quite possibly the icing on the cake of the greatest season of a running back ever if he goes off tomorrow. So I want to start with Jim because, quite honestly, he looks about as disinterested in the Super Bowl as I do. And James, what do you think is going to happen tomorrow, and do you honestly give a shit?
No and no.
Oh, okay. And by the way, John, just so you know,
I will not be watching. I will not be caring. You and I will probably be discussing things during the game. I will be playing Warframe during the game. I will not be turning this thing on. Second time in 3 years. Nobody cares.
And if I may,
Philly and Kansas City, nobody fucking cares.
And if I may, the only reason we cared last year, John, is because you were the one working the fucking thing.
I kind of had no choice. I had to watch.
But I got to say, I would love to see Philly. It's you're right. It is history. Let's say it for what it is as journalists now. A three-peat we wouldn't have seen a three-peat since what, like the 50s or something.
I want to say the last three-peat was the Browns in the old AAFC.
I'd have to go back and see if it was maybe like the Packers or the Bears, way back when.
It was the Packers. And it was that kind of convened over because I think they won the last.
I thought they won the last AFC Championship and then the first 2 Super Bowls.
That's what I was saying.
So technically that would be a 3
in a row.
But it's not 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But we've got, with the stories that are actually kind of, coming out, I think you're right, Mike. If they win, Travis hits a knee. I think he's got maybe another year or 2, and then he walks away. Mahomes basically pulls himself even with Brady, even though he's 3 Super Bowls short. He did the one thing that Brady never did. But on the other side of that, Philadelphia looking for their first title in 7 seasons. And Saquon Barkley has the opportunity to put the biggest stamp on a season in history. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's Brady possibly going 18-0 and losing it in the final 90 seconds. Barkley has gone for 442 yards and 5 touchdowns in the 3 games this postseason.
No, he only did it in 2, Jim. He didn't play the first week. They had a bye.
There were still numbers. He didn't score in that one, so we don't exactly remember it. But yeah, it's you're thinking it was a bye because he didn't score. But I mean, he had 2. He had 3 against. He had 2 against the Rams, and then he had 3 2 weeks ago against the Commanders. John,
Oh,
I'd
no, they
like to
didn't
hear
have a
your
bye. You're
take on
right. I'm
this here
sorry.
before we open up the elephant in the room that we're going to have to talk about with regards to this game where Kansas City's involved.
So I'm going to be watching the game. For me, it's football, and I like any kind of football. I'll watch the off-season Germany league if they ever put it on ESPN Ocho.
Bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
Right in the beak. Anyway,
Ouchtown, population you, bro.
so yes, I will be watching. Do I care who wins? No, I don't care who wins. Both teams have a lot riding on this. Obviously, the three-peat with Kansas City, and then Philly just having Saquon Barkley. With that being said, I'm leaning more towards Philly because of Saquon Barkley. I think he kind of deserves it after everything he went through in New York, and so on. So I do think he is more deserving as far as the players on the field go. If Kansas City wins, whether Travis takes a year, I don't care. If he does, I hope she says no. With that being said, I still think he's going to retire if Kansas City wins. If they don't win, I think he sticks around for at least another year or two.
Bonus, Josh and
But-
Haley are the new power couple.
If I can ask you, John, real quick, are you saying you hope she says no so she can become Jim's new stepmother, or you just want her to do?
No, I just don't see that being a successful relationship. Long term. That's just my opinion. I just don't see it. But hey, it works right now. It's definitely a relationship based on opportunity. But hey, it's been what? It's been over 2 years. So I mean, they must be doing something right. But and good for them. And if he does, hey, and if she says yes, good for her. That's good for them. That's cool. But I just think it would be like kind of like the icing on the cake for her to say no or something.
Better staying power, Travis and Taylor or Josh and Haley?
Josh and Haley.
Josh and Haley.
Yo, that was
Crazy.
some rock she had on.
Crazier things have happened. But-
Please.
But so yeah, so that I honestly think Philly's gonna win. That's my opinion.
And I'm with John, but I don't think it's just because of Saquon. I think Philly's going to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, their lines are amazing.
You know, it's the Georgia defense against an offensive line that's had issues at times. And it's honestly an offensive line that when we did our NFL preview, we had a big question was could they be as dominant as they were without Jason Kelsey in the middle? And they have been. So I think Philly's going to win. But I wouldn't be shocked if Mahomes found a way to get this done. I wouldn't be. And listen, Steve Spagnuolo, look what he's done as a D coordinator in the NFL. Remember, we talked about Brady in that 18-0 team. By the way, Steve Spagnuolo was the D coordinator of the Giants both those years that they beat New England. And it was that NASCAR package that, quite honestly, is the reason they won those games. So could Spagnuolo put something together to stop Saquon? To quote the wonderful Dan Patrick, I don't think you can stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
Now we have to talk about the elephant in the room.
I was looking for the elephant. My bad.
Hi.
The officiating. Does the officiating play a part in this game?
Yeah. But again, one bad call that goes against Kansas City, and it's going to be, oh, they're getting it right. And one bad call goes against Philly, it's going to be, oh, they paid the refs. They're going to play a part. They always do. I don't think I remember a Super Bowl where the refs didn't say or do something stupid. I mean, the guy doing the microphones has always been real good, but I don't remember. I don't remember a Super Bowl where there wasn't a call when you're kind of like, "Come on, really, really."
I don't agree
I
with
just
him
hope they let him.
often, but Mad Dog Russo
Oh
earlier this
fuck!
week on ESPN brought up some interesting numbers that since 2021, when Kansas City started this dynasty, they opposing teams, their opponents have committed 72 penalties. Kansas City only 41. Kansas City's only been targeted for two unsportsmanlike penalties in the postseason. Their opponents 11. 11 times since 2021, Kansas City has been on the lower end of having more penalties called against them, and only one time did they accrue more penalty yardage than their opponent.
Is that playoffs only, or is that in general?
Playoffs only.
Okay.
Including an absolutely deplorable spot that I am still trying to figure out what the fuck they were looking at 2 weeks ago.
No, you have definite beef there. You absolutely do. Um, I'm gonna give this one to John only because he knows more about this than I do, and I don't want to sound overly fucking stupid. Just partially.
To be honest with you, anybody who has the same opinion that you guys have is overly fucking stupid. Plain and simple.
See?
They play no part whatsoever. Every single game is under such a microscope that I don't think people understand. They are the officials working in the Super Bowl are the best of the best. I would not be where I am today without the guidance of NFL officiating. Um, are they human? Absolutely. Do they make mistakes? Absolutely. Are they deliberate? Absolutely not. Are they purposely for or against one or the other team? Absolutely not. Yes, Jim.
Not to poke holes here, honest question. With you being, kind of not so much on field, are there? It's a kind of a two-part question. Are there different tiers of how the officials are grouped, or is it just one entire crew? Like, is the are you guys like the clock operators and the booth guys? Are you guys like on a different tier than the on-field officials, so to speak?
Um, a different tier financially, yes, but we are all employed by the NFL,
Okay.
so we consider as a crew of clock operators, we consider ourselves an extension of the crew on the field. Um, we also get graded out every game as clock operators, which is why we are lucky enough to be graded where we are. Last year, we were fortunate enough to work the Super Bowl. This year, I was fortunate enough to work in Arizona for the Rams game there, and then as a crew, we got to work 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia. We got to work the NFC Championship game. So I'm fortunate enough to have those opportunities. And I know a lot of the NFL officials personally, and I can promise you that nothing is ever done deliberately. The calls are they could go either way. It just so happens to be here's what a lot of people don't understand. The easiest game to officiate in the world is a Super Bowl. It's the two best teams going against each other. So it's always usually the easiest game to officiate. So with that being said, you have the best of the best working one of the easiest games. I'm not saying that mistakes don't happen. Mistakes do happen. There was a call a few years back and I think it was against Brady, and where he was in the pocket in the end zone and threw a pass to nobody. And the deep official in the middle of the field came running in and said, I have nobody in the area. We're going to have intentional grounding on this. And they did. They called intentional grounding against Tom Brady while he was in the end zone, throwing a pass to no receiver in the area from the pocket. And they called it, and they gave the defense the safety. So, like, those are the types of plays. The whole and there's so many, and I can go on for hours on this. There are so many plays that are considered black and white, as the rule is written, and there are so many plays that have a little bit of human judgment involved with the rule. So a lot of the rules there's the rule as it's written and the rule as it's applied. It might not be applied exactly how it's written, but it's applied the same way across the board. It's never like this. It's never one game it's like this, the next game it's like this, unless they're trying to incorporate new rules where they're trying to really say, okay, you know what, we're going to hit this rule hard for the first couple of weeks, and then we'll kind of lay off a little bit.
I was just thinking that because tomorrow, typically we don't see an absolutely terribly blown call in the Super Bowl because it's the Super Bowl, because it's the cream of the crop crew that, you know, our wonderful guest was a part of last year. But let's also be honest, they've got like 490 cameras in that stadium at some point tomorrow. They can't miss anything if they tried.
Mm-hmm. Another thing too is I wish that the NFL would lean more towards the college replay system, where they review every single play, every single play in college football is reviewed. I know this because I'm actually an on-field college official. I work in the booth in the press box as a clock operator for the NFL. So I work Division I football in college, and I work NFL on clock. So I kind of know the rules. So
Kinda.
I would hope so.
At least somebody does. He works for an organization that still, 8 years later can't figure out the definition of a catch.
But here's the issue though. You have 32 owners that decide what the rules are. And those 32 owners decide what is a foul, what is not a foul, what are they going to call this week, what are they going to call this week. It's a lot stems from the owners, and I don't think people understand that it's not just a group of guys out there trying to metaphorically screw one of the other teams. These guys work hard. They are constantly in the rule book. They have to stay in shape. There's a lot that goes into being an on-field football official that I think people realize. And trust me, they are not out there to screw anybody.
So you kind of answered the other half of my question along that route. NFL officials are full-time, correct?
Incorrect. They do a lot of work throughout the whole year. They don't just show up on Sunday. A typical I'll just give you like my typical week from the end of the game on Saturday until the next game on Saturday. So when my game ends on Saturday, I work my way home. If I have a Browns game on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, I work that. I do the clock there. If not, then I go until Monday. I have a full-time job Monday through Friday. But then on Monday night, I'm watching film. Tuesday night, I usually have local association meetings where a bunch of us officials get together and we go over film. We go over every week. There's a quiz that gets sent out to the whole universe of officials. So we go over that quiz. We do things like that. We learn a lot of teachable moments, things along that line. Wednesday, we start having a crew call where I get together with my crew and we kind of go over the logistics of the weekend. Thursday is usually my off day, so that's when I actually get to sit back, relax, and watch some Thursday night football, which is kind of nice. Then Friday, I'm usually traveling, so I travel to the site where we have to be, and then once I get to the hotel, it's all book review and film review. I usually don't leave the hotel room until we have our pregame meeting, which is Friday night. And then we usually have that for about 2 hours. And then after that meeting, we usually go out to dinner. We have a crew dinner on Friday night. And then Saturday, wake up and get myself prepped for the game. And then Saturday's the game. So go ahead.
So that's kind of the that kind of circles back to the first question. So what I meant by the tier system, that you'll work a college game, and then you might work an NFL game the following week, but the actual like on-field guys, like Sean Hockley's crew or Ron Torborg's crew, though, are those guys kind of in the same boat? You're not going to see them working college games. Are they fully employed? Are they full-time by the NFL? Whereas like some of the other guys, like the clock operators or the game clock or the play clock operators, like you, that they'll move around.
They are fully employed by the NFL. They are not full-time employees, but they are fully employed by the NFL. They do not work any other places. I mean, some of them have full-time jobs. Some of them are teachers. Some are firefighters. Some are lawyers. You know, so they all have full-time jobs. Their full-time job is not NFL official. They tried that a few years ago, but it didn't really work out that well. So they kind of went away from that. But these crews, like Sean Hockley's crew, they all work together every single week. So they're constantly together for, 18 weeks in a season. They might work 16 weeks. So usually they'll have like 2 weeks off, usually. So they're together for 16 weeks. The problem that I have, and I don't know how, it's not necessarily a problem. It's just a slight issue, is I kind of wish they would keep the crews together in the playoffs. But I understand why they're picking and choosing, because they're picking and choosing the best officials at each position. There's 32 teams, so at most, so you have 16 games a week, and I think there's one extra. So I think there's 17 or 18 crews, full crews. So one or two crews always have a week off. So you have 17 officials at each position. So a referee, umpire, headline or down judge, line judge, and then you have the three deeps. So you have 7 positions on the field and 17 to choose from. So the best of the best make the playoffs. And there's stipulations too. Like you can't work a Super Bowl until you've officiated for 3 years in the NFL. So like there's certain rules there too. Like so even if you're the best official, if you come in as a rookie and you are the best official at your position, you're still not going to work a Super Bowl, because they want to make sure that you're qualified.
So it's a melting pot crew essentially for the Super Bowl. They might take Hockley, but they might take like Torborg's back judge or something.
Exactly.
And we see that for really all the sports. I mean, you know, we might not see the same crew in the NBA in the finals. We'll see, you know, a rotation of those guys. We'll see, you know, the names change just about every night in the NHL. So we'll get 7 different on-ice crews during the Stanley Cup Finals. We see it during baseball season. Angel Hernandez is never going to work a World Series, even though we know that he's retired. His numbers score so shitty that he's not going to get picked to work a World Series.
Mm-hmm. And every single one of those games, every single one of those calls are graded. Even a play that you just have a normal running play up the middle with no flag, no nothing, even that play is being graded. Because there's a lot of different ways to be graded as far as an official is concerned. And how you grade out determines, you know, your rank as your position. So, and that plays a lot into, you know, your tier, so to speak.
Michael?
I have just received an education. I am smarter for sitting here.
It only took 25 years for 3 brush kids to get an education.
Post high school.
Dude, you do understand.
3 cheeseburgers, 2 large fries, 2 chocolate shakes, 1 large Coke, and some flapjacks. Too early for flapjacks?
Last week's episode was on Groundhog Day, so you can imagine the things that happened. I initially wanted to do the first half of the show go to halftime, and then come back and restart the first half of the show just to see who was paying attention.
But it was a Sunday night. We would have been on until 1 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
It was a school night.
So
What's the third thing?
before we move on, predictions.
Eagles 27, Kansas City 24.
Eagles 30, Kansas City 20.
Kansas City 31, Philadelphia 20.
Oh, you got the chefs.
Great googly muggly.
Who are the Chiefs?
So we go from good discussion in the first segment. We go from lively discussion in the second, and now the wheels come off in the worst way possible here. News comes out earlier this week for a story that actually started several years ago that New Orleans church leaders worked with the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints sent over 100 internal emails to the New Orleans diocese for essentially, I don't want to say cover up, but PR work in wake of the sexual abuse scandal amongst the some of the priests in New Orleans. And this goes all the way to the top. There's even talk that principal owner Gail Benson was involved with this.
So they're taking out bounties on NFL players and are helping the priests hide this shit? Is this what you're telling me?
According to the ESPN report, or I should say it was an AP report from back on February 3rd, amongst the key moments revealed in the Saints' own emails, quote, Saints executives were so involved in the church's damage control that a team spokesman briefed his boss on a 2018 call with city prosecutors hours before the church released a list of the clergymen accused of abuse. The call, the spokesman said, quote, allowed us to take certain people off the list. Team officials were amongst the first people outside the church to view that list, a carefully curated yet undercounted roster of suspected pedophiles. The disclosure of those names invited civil claims against the church and drew attention from federal and state law enforcement. Team president Dennis Lauschka drafted more than a dozen questions that New Orleans Archbishop Gregory Amen should be prepared to answer as he faced reporters, and Saints senior vice president of communications Greg Bensill provided provided fly on the wall updates to Lauschka about local media interviews suggesting church and team leaders were on the same team. He, quote, he is doing well, end quote. Bensill wrote as the Archbishop told reporters the church was committed to addressing the crisis.
Here I thought you were going to say they were trying to bribe kids with tickets or something. This is fucking wow.
Wow.
The partnership, the emails cover a year-long partnership that ended in July 29th when they were subpoenaed by attorneys for victims of a priest later charged with raping an 8-year-old boy. In a lengthy statement, the team criticized the media for, quote, leaked emails for purpose of misconstruing a well-intended effort.
There's no right side to this. There's no well intention the Saints can have to be with this.
Lucy, you have some explaining to do.
You beat me to it.
Oh, yes, this is tough. This one's tough.
This is bad.
Hit it. Yeah, there's no right side on this.
No, there's not. And you know,
the only right side is if they weren't involved at all. But
exactly,
any involvement in this is they better have everything lined up. They better have all their ducks in a row because this could get real nasty.
The only reason that we're coming back around to something that happened now 6 years ago is the Saints reiterated their denial, according still to the ESPN story, in a statement that was issued last Saturday, saying no employees, quote, had any responsibility for adding or removing names from that list, end quote.
So basically, what they're
have
saying
proof.
is, yes. Basically, what they're saying is they were helping to stem the tide of a PR nightmare. Why would you want to stem the tide to that for the church? Why? Let them burn.
I mean, the only thing that I can see with this, because it was also mentioned in the story, is the name that I had mentioned in there. Let me pull his name back up here for a moment. Archbishop Gregory Amond introduced former Saints owner Tom Benson to his wife Gail. And remember, Tom passed away for a few years ago, and Gail's actually been the principal owner since he passed away. So that's really where the connection started.
Okay. So she probably thought she was doing a favor for somebody.
Well, you said these events happened 6 years ago.
The emails surfaced in 2019, but I'm not sure how far back this goes. I mean, we all actually remember when this story really started to take form, especially for us when we were all John, you and I, when we were living in Cleveland in the 80s. This was a thing.
Yeah. When did Benson die? Like, it was after that, wasn't it?
I want to say it was 2020.
Okay. I'm hoping this.
Tom Benson died in 2018. I'm sorry.
Okay, and the
so this was after he had passed.
After he had passed.
Yes.
Well, I'm hoping that the connection passes with him. I'm hoping that it was a dead end connection to him and only him, because if this goes any further, this could, like I said, this could get real ugly for a lot of people. There's just no. There's no justifying any of this.
No.
In any regard. Unless it was to. I can't even really say that.
No.
Like there's really no justification in any of this, because it's. Yeah. Yeah.
So before we get to our new segment, that Mike and I are surprising on everybody tonight, let me throw this out there. We know that the Browns are a terribly run organization. We know about the move. We know how piss poor they've actually been handled now. But we're going to take them out of the equation. We remember what happened with New England within the course of the last 10 years. We've had Spygate, we've had Deflategate, we've had the Robert Kraft scenario. But you also look at the Saints. They've had realistically, in the last 15 years, they've had Katrina, they've had Bountygate, they've had this. Who has got the most unfortunate set that really needs a PR overhaul of any team in the NFL right now? Over the last, maybe, if you were to basically write a book on the last 20 years.
And we're taking the Browns out of it?
I mean, realistically, you could add them in, but
it's them.
I think there's so many more other deserving candidates.
I think it's the Browns. You figure you're talking about, we're supposed to be a redemption arc in '99 with the team coming back. The ineptness that two ownership regimes have run the franchise with, the squandering of a Hall of Fame talent, and now you have Deshaun and all this. On top of, the bottles being thrown on the field, the mishandling of players, the mishandling of, remember, it was their owner who was investigated by the FBI for screwing truckers out of money at Pilot Flying J. They're just as bad. What the Saints have now is a situation where this is fucking deplorable. I would almost say it's like the Browns and the Saints are 1 and 1A.
John?
So Mike might get this reference. Jim, I don't know how much you would get this reference, but there's kids books out there that sometimes if you read them one direction, they read fine, and then you can actually like flip them over and read them in the backwards direction, and so they're like double-sided books.
It's not good at all.
So one direction you got the Browns, and then the other direction you got the Saints. So it's like, and I honestly think when you're promoting that book and when you're selling that book, the front cover is the Browns, but just because it's been. I mean, I give them a pass. All right, just put it this way. When Jacksonville and Carolina first came on the scene, I want to say they were 3 or 4 years in, and they both made their respective championship games. Three years in. The Browns have yet to. No, they did win one. I'm sorry, they did win one, but they have not made it to the championship game in 25 years of being an expansion.
One
franchise.
Playoff win. Yep.
One win. No championship appearances. No divisional championships. They have yet to even win their division in 25 years. That in and of itself is huge. But like what you guys are saying, what the Saints are doing, I think this trumps anything that they've ever done in the past. Forget the what do they call it, the
Bounty Gate.
The Bounty Gate. Forget the Bounty Gate. Honestly, if that's what players want to do, and if that's what coaches want to do, and to make your players play better, whatever. And I understand it's like you're not supposed to go out there and hurt people, but let me tell you this: the NFL is a business. But I can promise you, college players play to hurt each other. I can promise you.
Guaranteed.
College players play to hurt each other. They don't care about the people in the other colored jerseys. Once you get to the NFL level, it's a much different animal. Much different animal. So that's why Bounty Gate was as significant as it was. I can promise you there's a Bounty Gate somewhere out there at the college level that we're not hearing about and we never will hear about. But to have it at the NFL level is a little bit odd, just because, like I said, it is more of a business. Guys tend to take care of themselves better. You'll see players locked up in a block, and then you'll see players in the pile get tackled behind the other player. And sometimes you'll see that defensive player pull the offensive player towards him so he doesn't get rolled up on, so that his legs don't get rolled up on from behind. But truth be told, there are some players that go to the extreme on the other side and will push another player over a pile. So you do have, like for every, who was the really good Washington Redskins DB?
Darryl Green.
Yes, Darryl Green. For every Darryl Green, you have an Ndamukong Suh. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like you can't all be Walter Payton Award winners, but you can't all be scum of the earth either. So it is what it is.
I see your Ndamukong Suh and raise you Richie Incognito, but that's okay.
Dude, but Ndamukong Suh did something like every single game, but Incognito was bad too.
Yeah.
And on that note, we would like to present the debut of the Wise Guys 6-pack.
That's awesome.
I knew that was going to be what it was.
So this is going to be, and this is a temporary thing. I actually, at least in terms of the graphics. So what I've actually done is I've listed out, and I'll get that off the bottom. Every week, Mike and I, or if we have a guest, we're going to actually have them do this as well. I'm going to give a list of about 10 names or 10 items down at the bottom, and then we're going to rank where we actually have these. And then what I'll do is I'll actually take this and I'll post it out to our to my social media, and Mike will actually share these afterwards. sometime during the second half of the show or just after the show. So the names that we actually have tonight in no particular order for the worst NFL scandals, and a lot of these, some of these could be on field, but a lot of them stem from off the field doings. We have the Saints abuse scandal. We have the Colts moving in the middle of the night. We have the NFL turning essentially a blind eye and blackballing Colin Kaepernick. We have the Michael Vick dogfighting ring. We have Bountygate. We have Ray Caruth. We have Ray Rice. We have Spygate and Deflategate, collectively known as Patriot Reign. We have the NFL covering up CTE, and we have Darren Sharper.
Wow. There's a couple I was expecting that I did not hear.
Such as?
Well, Modell and Ray Lewis.
He's not going to do Ray Lewis. He's a Ray Lewis guy.
I thought that Ray Rice. See, he was accused of it. Ray Caruth actually was a part of it. I could have put, and also if you want to talk Patriot Ring, I'm going to lump Aaron Hernandez in there as well. But I thought, see, the reason why I left Modell and the Browns moving off, but I put the Colts on, is that Irsay blindsided Indianapolis and moved in the middle of the night. The Modell thing was in the works.
You're right, but he still held the city hostage on it.
He did, but it was
that was the biggest thing. It wasn't that he did it; it was how he did it, because it was very manipulative in that. And I personally think the deal was already done, and it didn't matter what the city came to him with. Like he was already the deal was done. He was moving. He was taking the team. It was just never announced until last minute. But I think that deal had been done for a long time.
Oh, I completely agree, and that actually became the blueprint for what Stan Kroenke did with the Rams. What happened with Houston moving, the Oilers moving to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. What Al Davis did, bringing the Raiders from Oakland to L.A. and then back in Vegas.
It's kind of what's stymieing the whole move of the Cleveland Browns to Brook Park, which is seriously 15 minutes away.
Right. Yeah. But the Colts, Irsay never consulted anyone and just basically moved his team in the middle of the night, which I think is way worse.
With the Mayflower buses.
Yep.
The Mayflower vans.
Well, that's because they own Mayflower Moving.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, like, that's the image that you see is the Mayflower semi truck leaving. I just remember that.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think CTE's got to go number one. At least for me, CTE goes number one. You got a generation of players who are basically, Junior Seau put a gun to his chest and said, "Study my brain," and took his life. You have all the issues guys have had down the line. They made a Will Smith movie out of it.
Me personally, I've got that at 2.
Okay.
Because my number one, because this is still ongoing, especially with what we're seeing tomorrow. Because Kaepernick, I thought, was the one that got the ball rolling with this, but it's something that really has kind of, it's steamrolled and it's gained momentum in years. And there's still people that think that he could get, he should be back in the NFL. He's really too old to do that now, but it's gone so much further than him. And apparently we've cured racism according to what's going to be on the field tomorrow.
I think that for me, the Saints is number one, I think.
Oh, the new thing? Yeah, I can see that.
Well, the new thing plus the Bountygate and everything, I just think that's just, but the new thing is really what kicks that up a notch.
Hey, Jim, for me, number 2 is Rayenthal.
I would say the Colts moving is my number 2.
Be honest, John, you have Modell on that line. You don't have the Colts.
Yeah, well, yes, but at the same time, the Colts were definitely as shady as the Modell move was. The Colts move was even shadier. So
That's very true. Jim, do Patriot Reign number 3 for me, please.
what else we have on the list? I gotta remember now. Why did I think there were more than 7 that he listed?
There are more than 7 that he listed.
Or 6, but yeah, I thought there were more than 6. But all right, what's the what was the? Let's see. Go over the list again for me, Jim.
The Saints abuse scandal, the Colts move, Colin Kaepernick, the Michael Vick dogfighting ring, Bounty Gate, Ray Caruth, Ray Rice, Patriot Reign, the CTE cover up, and Darren Sharper essentially being a serial molester right after retirement.
Give me Ray Rice number 3.
See, I have Ray number 4. Creedies and I shouted at him at that Rutgers game if it was the same chick or not.
My number 4, I'm actually going to go with the Bounty Gate, even though I kind of linked it into number 1. But since they are separate issues, that's going to be my number 4.
For me, I got to put Darren Sharper a little bit higher than Ray Rice just because of the fact that yes, what Ray Rice did was completely reprehensible against a woman, but Darren Sharper turned into a serial rapist and is sitting in jail for the next 20 years across multiple states.
James, I can round out my 6. Do the Colts move at 5? And Vic at 6. Not that what Sharper did is any good, but you had the face of the league go to jail in the middle of his career for basically being a moron.
Sharper is 5 for me.
For me, I gotta put Rayenthal at 4.
I love that we call him Rayenthal still after all these years.
I think he might be 6 for me. Andre Rison would probably be 6, but he's not on the list.
Wait, his bad contract with the Browns or Left Eye burning his house down?
Of course, the house burning down. Like, come on. Although on a more somber note, the Vince Young, or not Vince Young. Why can't
Steve McNair.
Steve McNair.
I thought about that. Did anyone see the Netflix documentary on that?
I did not.
No, I have to watch it yet.
I thought it was fantastic. I would certainly recommend it.
If either of you guys are looking for a show to start, Night Agent is really good.
Night Agent. Oh yeah, I have seen previews for that. I have not.
It's really. We just finished season 1 and started season 2. It's really good.
I think with everything, the entire microcosm of the Patriots, that at first everyone thought it was a great story, the great upset and everything against the Rams, even though I still thought that was fixed. And remember, Mike, I tried to write a book about it and they told me not to. But it was just everything that came out, and it just kept getting worse. And you got the poster child and model franchise, and just more and more crap just keeps coming out.
Yeah, no, that's why I have it at number 3 is because you're talking about the man who people label the GOAT has 4 championships that come with league suspension and fine.
And I have to put the Saints up there as well.
And again,
Certainly,
the Saints for me, it's deplorable what they did. I just think those 6, to me personally, as far as the NFL goes, were bigger because the Saints thing is we're in the infant stages of this so far. I hope they all burn in hell personally.
I mean, it's a 6-year-old scandal, but now we're really starting to see where the dominoes fell on it within the last, within the last 10 days. Yeah, I completely agree.
John, we need a number 6 out of you.
Oh, did I not say Ranthal?
Oh, he did say Ranthal. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Who made our list? All of us. So Ranthal's on everybody's list. Let's see.
We all. I think Ranthal might have been the only one.
Ranthal is the only one.
Maybe.
Well, the fucking murderer. I mean, come on.
No. Remember, he was the one that actually paid the guy to kill. He was the. Oh, what was the guy who whacked Kerrigan?
He was the Jeff Gillooly of the NFL.
Wow. Just the fact that you knew that name.
Why?
Wait, no. He would be the Tanya Harding because Tanya paid Gillooly to whack Kerrigan. John, you're talking about the guy who's taken the Jeopardy test a few times. There's too much stupid shit here.
Yeah.
So yeah, save that and we'll send it out after the show because I think we should skip halftime tonight, sir, because we are already an hour and a half in. Why do you get the big head? Okay.
Because I was the one that put in the big head code.
That's true. What do you say we skip halftime tonight? Let's jump right into the blast because I don't think John's seen the thing for the blast yet, and I think it's going to hit him right in the feels.
Can you guys give me 30 seconds to go grab another beverage?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. We can fill.
All right, 30 seconds.
All right. Clock starts now. Ass.
Is me.
It is true. So yeah, let's talk about what you and I are doing tomorrow. Since John's already read it. Oh wow, he really was 30 seconds, Joe.
So we've had an episode where the Wise Ass Sports Network, the Wise Ass Sports Show was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, you can introduce this.
Well, because of the lack of time that I have, and Big Rican has not been on the air for a long time. Really, it was a year ago that I did my first Big Rican episode since I moved to Georgia. But after tomorrow, when Jim tells me how to format everything, Big Rican will go blog style. There are already 2 posts in the can. One of them both James and John have read. The response from Jim was, I like it. There's some polishing to do. And the response from John was simply, wow.
So tomorrow at some point during the afternoon, maybe during the game, who knows, I will actually be helping Michael set up this blog, and we will actually be able to debut it for when we come to you guys on the next show. And we officially would like to announce that the Wise Ass Sports Network has officially commenced.
Wow.
So, John, what you may not know about that is the blog site Jim and I had at Tri-C when we were in college.
Fantastic.
And it was quite epic.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
It was a lot of days of skipping class in the computer lab.
Because nobody had the internet at home, and we got it for free, and they would never kick us out. They would kick my brother out.
Well, that's because your brother was clicking on porn sites in the fucking school computer lab.
Oh, Jesus.
So,
my gosh.
so that's
Well,
gonna.
there was
So, like I
there's
said,
only 2 of those at that point.
basically. So yeah, that'll be once we get it formatted tomorrow. It'll go live as soon as I can. 2 posts in the can. One about the first topic of the night, and one about a topic we're going to have in the blast in just a minute. So, Jim, hit the video. I don't know if John's seen it yet.
Hey, in case you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance, you haven't.
Let us all take the hat off for you for a moment. You couldn't hear it? You can't hear it? John's gone.
We can't hear you.
We're reading your lips.
And he's not praying.
Stop it. He's blaming you. In the bottom. You're such an asshole, Grin. Is it plugged in?
There we go. Now, what happened? Are we good?
So
Yeah, we got you now.
what the video was Uke from the first major league.
Should I try it again?
Yeah,
Do it again.
let's try that again, please.
Hey, in case you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance, you haven't.
That's awesome.
When we did the Uke tribute, that one hurt our hearts a little bit.
Wow. Yeah.
I have his final call saved.
Really?
I mean, it was against the Mets. Of course I had it saved.
Oh,
John.
yeah,
Come
of
on.
course. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So speaking of said New York Mets, we could all breathe a sigh of relief because the polar bear has re-upped with the Mets a 2-year, $54 million deal. $30 million the first year with an opt-out. Scott Boras, you're a piece of shit, and I fucking hate you. I want to get to that. Jim threw that in there for me because I was so excited the other day. It was the night that Garland, of course, hits the shot to beat Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys noticed in the foray there, but when Donovan Mitchell rushed to court, he was wearing a Mets hat.
Was he really?
Yes, he was. His dad's worked for the Mets for 30-some years. Don't be a dick. Stop your shit.
It's about as
Yeah,
interesting as LeBron James wearing a Dallas Cowboys hat.
No, Spite is a legit Met fan. He actually goes to the ballpark and takes BP with the team 2-3 times a week in the summer. Oh yeah, his pivot interview with Ryan Clark and them. It's a good listen.
Wow. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Oh, we got him.
Dude. You got to do the the scissor me one for him.
Oh my god.
Scissor me,
Wait.
Oh my god.
Why does that shock you with us? And then when we don't want to answer a question,
I'm here so I won't get fined.
There it is.
And Mike, when he found out that, and just as we're going through all the new sounds, apparently, Mike, when he found out that Pete re-upped.
So
Wow.
that news broke. I literally fell asleep about 5 minutes after Darius hit the shot the other night. I woke up the next morning and I roll over and I grab my phone and Bobby's like slapping me on the head because Steph brought him in bed that night. And he goes, "What is it?" And I look at my phone and I go, "It's a good fucking day." Exactly. But we also have some bad news in Major League Baseball. One of the it was Hobart was the guy.
At
Jim?
Hobart.
Pat Hobart was fired because he tried to be the modern day Pete Rose.
Really?
He got fired for being for gambling. The worst part is he was one of the good ones.
Like,
I mean, we've talked about this, and John, you've mentioned it before. The
Yeah.
sign's up all over the place. Now, it's getting a little hypocritical with FanDuel now having Major League Baseball broadcasting rights and ESPN Bet being everywhere, but the sign's up.
I will tell you this. Pulling back the curtain a little bit. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But being an employee of the NFL, we go through some rigorous I want to call it training, but it's not training. It's basically education on gambling. And we're allowed to gamble on things that have a total winning of less than $200. So if I join my NCAA bracket poll at work or something like that, if the total winnings are over 200, I can't do it. I want to say it's 200. I think it's 200. That sounds about right. I just don't gamble. Period. I used to love gambling. I'm an avid blackjack player. I love blackjack. Fairly decent blackjack player. Suck at poker, but really good at blackjack. But I don't gamble anymore, and it has nothing to do with how much you gamble. It has nothing to do with the actual event of gambling on a game. What it has to do with is when you get down, say you owe a bookie 10, 20 grand. Okay, because that's what ends up happening. You get so down that you end up owing somebody like $20,000, right? I mean, look at what happened with Shohei Ohtani's guy. But
who got 57 months.
So it's about when you are down the 20 grand, having somebody come to you and say, "Hey, I'll wipe out your bet if you throw this game. I'll wipe out your bet if you do something for me in this next game."
Tim Donaghy.
That's the issue. It's not necessarily the actual art or event of the bet. It's having people that will manipulate you for your debt.
So the story involves that in their statement, MLB fired Pat Hoberg for, quote, failing to uphold the integrity of the game, and that he should have known that his friend, who is a professional poker player, had bet on baseball from a shared account, end quote. And Hoberg was regarded as the best ball strike umpire in Major League Baseball, and he can apply for reinstatement no earlier than the start of spring training next year.
Well, then I think he'll go through the reinstatement process, and he'll apply for reinstatement at that point when he's eligible. But here's the issue: is there proof that he never did it? It's a shared account, but is there proof that he never did? You know, and they will. They will find that out. They will absolutely find that out. You don't have an organization like Major League Baseball and not have a sort of some type of group that doesn't look out for those things. So they will get to the bottom of it, and they will find out for sure.
According to the story on ESPN, In 2019, when sports betting became legal in Iowa, Hoberg's friend, again, a professional poker player, opened an online betting account with a sports book and then a second legal account with another sports book. Betting on those accounts was possible only from electronic devices physically located in Iowa. And Hoberg asked his friend to place non-baseball sports bets for him using the accounts to do so. So it was essentially me paying Mike to place bets in my name, knowing that I can't make those bets.
Okay, if that is what it is, and if that comes to fruition, then he should never umpire baseball ever again. He should never be able to officiate any type of sport ever again. I don't care if it's non-baseball or not. You're at that point, you know that what you're doing is wrong, and you're trying to skirt the system.
Yeah.
They apparently had text back and forth via Telegram, and after being contacted by investigators, the friend deleted both of the Telegram threads with Hoberg, and then Hoberg deleted his Telegram account. And there were 141 bets on baseball placed from the friends' accounts. 8 bets involved 5 games that Hoberg umpired or had responsibility for replay reviews, but there was no evidence that Hoberg took any action to manipulate the outcome. So
doesn't matter.
It's Tim Donaghy all over again.
I'm looking around for a red flag. I don't see one. I mean, that's
I got a white one, and that's
I got my hat.
Well, you better throw up a white one for Pat Hoberg's Major League Baseball career.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's a fireable offense at any level, at any tier. The issue is now now I don't know Major League Baseball. I don't know their rules. I don't know. Obviously, the Pete Rose thing put a whole damper on sports betting, period, across the board. But I don't know what MLB's specific rules were towards people who are employed by Major League Baseball. But if he did this in 2019 or something, or whenever he did this, if they did not have specific rules in place, because I don't gamble on any sports at all. I don't. I don't even. I was talking hypothetically about the NCAA bracket, but I don't even do that. I'll print out brackets and do my own, have my own, but I don't join any pools or anything like that. I just stay away from that entirely. I don't have any accounts on any sports books on any of and that's the thing. These things are terrible. These phones here are terrible. The fact that we have all of that right at our fingertips. And a buddy of mine who does gamble, he gambles on NBA games all the time. He's my best friend. He tells me that you can gamble up to the minute.
Yeah.
You can gamble
real time odds will change throughout the course of the game. Yeah.
Yes. He gambles. What his thing is he'll gamble quarters. Whatever team wins whatever quarter. So he'll say, "Oh yeah, the Cavs are going to win the first quarter, and then the Pistons will win the second quarter, and then, But then he gambles on stuff like that. It's like, man, that's insane.
When I was watching the Cavs in Dallas the other night, and Mike, you were kind of watching it too, where they were up. They hung 50 in the first quarter. It was the first game after the Luka trade. And midway through the first quarter, the live odds had actually shifted to the Cavs were, minus 3,500. So you had to bet 3,500 to win 100 at that point. But again, it's live in-game odds that shift on the fly. Didn't we have an NBA player get broken off for life about a year or two ago for gambling on games?
It was last season. The guy from Toronto.
Porter?
I think so. Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, it might have been. Was it Porter? I think it was Porter. Yeah, but it's And I know they do. They have all those advertisements for if you have a gambling problem, call this number and so on and so forth.
Well, you're not helping.
No, exactly. Um, but the fact that gambling is so readily available, it used to be fine when it was like just Vegas and Atlantic City, or and then the random, Cherokee reservations.
Or
But
we all grew up remembering, you always felt like you were part of it when your dad would actually come to you with his weekly betting slip to call his bookie with, to be able to pick the games, and he lets you pick a couple of them every week,
yeah,
Gambling to me was horse racing because I grew up near Saratoga.
John's really not. He's not a great big blackjack fan like Mitch Hedberg. He's just addicted to sitting in a semicircle.
Jesus Christ!
you always double down on 11.
That laugh will never go anywhere, especially
No.
after last week, John.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
Jim, why don't you start the next one?
The president in name only signed an executive order banning trans athletes from women's sports in college, which now affects 9 athletes across all sports.
So, yeah.
Wonderful.
I don't care I don't care if it was just one. I don't care if it was just one. I'm sorry, dudes don't belong playing with girls. I'd be very upset if my girl went up against a guy. I would be even that much more upset if they had to share the same locker room. So, in the same respect, I would lose a lot of respect for my son if he felt that because he wasn't good enough to play for the boys, he decides to flip teams and go play with the girls. I understand that this is a very hot political topic, but I agree with this 1,000%.
We saw this with the San Jose State women's volleyball team. It was a hot button over the summer that Boise State forfeited 3 games, including the Mountain West Conference Championship, because they did not want to have to play against San Jose State, who had a trans member that was outed by the captain of that team. Now, I'm all about equality, and I'm kind of I don't agree with the ban. I can understand the ban. I certainly don't agree with it, because what we also have to remember here is that in the NCAA, they go by the governing body, the national governing body. So when they test these athletes, namely with the women's volleyball, they go for the United States Women's Volleyball Association with what their testing levels are for their athletes and where their blood or testosterone levels are. And this athlete, even though she was transgender, she registered below all of those levels. So she did register as a woman, even though her physical attributes were not that assigned at birth. So I could see both sides of the equation here.
My thing is, you automatically have an unfair advantage, regardless of how much, regardless of how many chemicals you put into your body to try and change things. You still, but you notice how we're not talking about girls that become men and play in men's sports. You don't see that. You see men that are unsuccessful in their male sports that transfer over to women to compete in the women's sports, because they know already right off the rip, I have a competitive advantage. And along with the Title IX, transgendered people infringe upon the rights of women. I'm sorry. I'm not a woman, but as a father of a daughter, if she was to lose her position on any sport due to a boy who transitioned to be a girl, I'm sorry, but you are taking that as a Title IX offense, and you are taking away her right to be on the team as a girl and giving it to a boy. And
John, would you honestly feel a little bit different about this? Let's say that they had actually, we're talking about college students that 17, 18 years old. If this was something that they had transitioned at a younger age, like, 12, 13, something like that, would it be a different scenario? We understand that, we're looking at sweeping changes with how out of control the government's gone, and everyone living in fear or anything like this, and just how chaotic things have been in the last month.
Well, now at that point, I think you're looking at potential child abuse at that point. If you're going to let 10, 11, and 12-year-olds basically chemically castrate themselves in either direction. You're looking at chemical castration. I am not for that. I don't believe in that. I do believe in equality. I do believe that love is love. But we've gone through this whole thing in the 90s, 80s and 90s about how, if there was somebody on top of a building waving, flapping their arms, saying that they were a bird, we would have issues with that. We would have major issues with that, and we'd be like, you're not a bird. But now we have people that are running around going, I'm a girl. And it's like, no, you're not. So it's like, so where did that change come in? Like, you can't pretend to be something you're not. Can you have an idea, or can you associate more with a different sex? Sure, you absolutely can. There are feminine guys, just like there are masculine women. But to believe that you are something that you are not biologically, and especially when we were forced always to, trust the science. Well, science is telling me that you're one thing. And so there's a lot of giving, there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot, and like I said, it's a very, very, very hot political topic, and I apologize for kind of taking over the podium on this one, but I have a very, very, very strong stance. I don't have a strong stance against. I'm not a transphobic. I don't have strong stance against trans people. I have a strong stance against trans people competing in a sport that they are not biologically linked to.
I could see that argument.
Yeah, same here. Insert Ryan Day joke hitting a softball there, John, that you and I were talking about.
Dude, he swung the bat pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. He stood in there.
It was
swung the bat.
It was a decent hack.
It was
Well,
the
of course,
running.
he was
It was
born
the
on
run to
third
first
base.
Oh my gosh! It was the run to first base.
Dude, yeah. Well,
dude looked like that little those cartoon, the Saturday morning cartoon. Like when they're
he did
the twinkle toes, like.
Mike, that's the second time we've talked about that tonight. Flintstoning.
Yes,
Flintstone. That's what it is.
So going to another topic. Speaking of changes, the Cavaliers, of course, the NBA trade deadline. Which, John, even though you're not a big NBA guy, I know you saw the insanity that was the NBA trade deadline.
And especially one of the key pieces of that move, leaving
By the
in
way,
the final 5 minutes tonight with an injury.
And by the way, the Mark Andrews trade with Charlotte and the Lakers has been rescinded. Charlotte didn't uphold their end, so Dalton Connect and those picks go back to the Lakers, and Andrews goes back to Charlotte.
Wow.
But yeah, we had the big one, obviously. Luka Doncic goes to the Lakers, basically for Anthony Davis. And of course, AD, being AD, gets hurt.
Shocker.
And the Lakers, LeBron's got the ankle, Luka's coming back from the calf, and they smoke Indiana without either one of them tonight. But the Cavs did not sit and stand pat, which Jim and I were talking about off the air. I thought they might do, but they bring in DeAndre Hunter for Karis LeVert, George Niang, and was there a pick involved,
It
Jim?
was the Cleveland Cavaliers reacquire, because remember he started his career here. DeAndre Hunter, forward DeAndre Hunter from the Atlanta Hawks, who then get guard Karis LeVert, forward George Niang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 future pick swaps.
I did not know that. Wow.
I didn't realize there were so. Yeah, but second round picks, unless your last name is James, no one gives a shit about the second round.
Right. LeVert and Niang are on expiring contracts. They will be unrestricted free agents at the end of this year. DeAndre Hunter is signed through 2027. He is in the second year of a 4-year, $90 million rookie extension signed in 2023. He's on the hook for $23.3 million next year and $24.9 next year. Very affordable. Mike, it reminds me a lot of when the news broke on this very show last week with the De'Aaron Fox trade.
Yes. I will say this. I love Karis LeVert and George Niang. I think they're as you can tell, I'm wearing the Cavs version of the Big Rican shirt tonight. I love what they brought to this team. He adds another piece that they can exploit, because not only is he a decent on-ball defender, which I think he's a little bit better than Karis and George were, he's a better rebounder, and he's a wing that you can space out, especially with the steps that Mobley's taken this year in his three-point shooting. Because remember, Evan Mobley leads the NBA in three-point shooting.
Percentage, yeah.
Evan Mobley is shooting at 45% from behind the arc.
Wow.
Hence why they're 41-10, John.
Well, I saw a quick stat just to get not off topic, but it's just sidetrack quick. To start the fourth quarter last night, when the Cavs started the fourth quarter against the Wizards, the Cavs are 39, well now 40-0 when leading after the third quarter, and the Wizards were 0-36 when losing into the fourth quarter. So that was the stat that they showed, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Now after winning last night, the Cavs are now 40-0 when leading into the fourth quarter. But if I'm not mistaken, it was tied. So I don't know how. So obviously that wouldn't count because it was tied. But I think it was tied in the fourth quarter. But I could be mistaken. But yeah, I saw that stat. I was like, that is a ridiculous stat line.
It is.
DeAndre Hunter was averaging 19 points a game. He's coming off of last year was the best statistical season of his career. 19 points a game and 3 assists are borderline all-star type numbers. So now you actually add a guy who's got 2 inches more in height than Karis would give you, and then now you can move Strus out of the starting lineup and get him a little bit more comfortable in his sixth man role. The only thing that I actually am a little bit concerned about is that Ty Jerome was performing so brilliantly in that sixth man role, and now he's actually going to be, the 7 or 8 guy in that rotation because you've now taken Niang out of there. But I love the move in the short term. I really do.
Well, with this move, though, and you're talking about the parts that are moving lineup-wise, I trust Kenny Atkinson far more than J.R. Chickenfucker. I mean, seriously. What would I call him last week? Pickle sucker?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
Oh my God. Wow.
I mean, you mean RC brisket smoker?
Brisket smoker. Wow.
Dude, we have come up with at least 2 different names for Bickerstaff every single show we bring them up.
That's hilarious.
And I've been
we stole that bit from Alan Cox.
We did.
Oh my God.
But the funny thing is, I'm sitting here all day, and all I hear in my head is Farva going, "I'll call him chicken fucker for $5." License registration, chicken fucker.
That's the best part. The quack.
You need to cut John doing the squawk at the end there and put it on the board.
Oh
It'll give me
no.
something to do tomorrow.
Oh no.
Yeah, because by the way, John, I will say this: I have used the "I could shit in a box and call it guaranteed" at least twice since you said it.
Oh.
And then this asshole hits us with the more you know.
Would you rather I go?
Oh my God! So listen, I am going to go out on a limb here, and yes, they've had their 1-2 against Boston, but I think they'll win the last one and they'll end up 2-2. Depending on the draw, I think we're going to host the Eastern Conference Finals in Cleveland, and it's going to be. And when it's in that building in the playoffs, we all know the city brings it.
That is
And
the truth.
The city brings it in a way for playoffs. For the Cavs and the Guardians anyway.
Gotta have a home playoff game.
Yeah, did I tell you that stat when you were on here? Of the 25 years since the Browns came back, the Guardians/Indians and Cavs have been in the playoffs 19 times combined.
Wow.
And they'll be opening up a new building 15 miles away, and that building will have never seen a home playoff game.
Wow.
This is why I call him great value, Jerry Jones.
Wow. I'm sorry, analytics just don't work in football, but that's another topic for another day.
Agreed. So I think bright things coming for the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second half of the season. We got 2 more games before we head to the All-Star break, which apparently is now just a giant clusterfuck, kind of like the Pro Bowl. But we have the smallest Hall of Fame class in how many years? 20-some years?
I think 2006.
With the 4 players going in, headlining Jared Allen, Eric Allen, Jared Allen, the defensive end from the Vikings and the Chiefs. Eric Allen, the defensive back from the Philadelphia Eagles and the Raiders, right, Jim?
Correct.
We have the third player was
Sterling Sharp.
I was going with him last just because.
I thought. Did you see the video of Shannon
doing the knock for him?
Yep.
That was, and they are right now the first brothers to be enshrined. I think we have a couple of guys from Cleveland Heights in a few years who will also be enshrined in Canton. But the fourth one is former Michigan State basketball star Antonio Gates, rounding out this year's Hall of Fame class. I had no issue with this year's Hall of Fame class. There's a lot of times there's a player who isn't elected or who is elected that you kind of go
Did
like this.
Did you say Michigan State?
Gates went to Michigan State.
Thought he went to Kent State.
Oh, Gates. You know what? I got him and plexiglass mixed up in my head.
I was like, wait, time out. He said Michigan State, right? Gates was Kent State.
My fault. I apologize. Yeah. That's on me.
You know, he didn't go there, John. But obviously he's a brethren because can't read, can't write, can't state.
Hey, Julian Edelman went there.
Yeah,
Edelman went there.
I stand by my statement.
Yeah,
Cribs went there. I stand by my statement.
and in my defense, I was gonna go there, and then some things happened, and I didn't. No, I'll tell you off the air what happened.
Fair enough.
But I will say this, and I think you guys will agree with me. Had he not gotten hurt, Sterling Sharp was a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, without question.
I agree with that.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room in this conversation. Is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer?
If
it got quiet
for as small of a body of work as he had, I think Eli would. He's got 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs. He beat Brady both times, and he put up very good numbers. He wasn't ever an All-Pro, or he made a bunch of Pro Bowls. But I think he's got the credentials. There's a lot more guys in the Hall of Fame that actually don't have nearly the resume that he does.
Eli Manning is a career 500 quarterback.
But he's beaten the GOAT twice.
That's not here
And
nor there because
him in both of them. Let's be honest.
That's not here nor there because we all know the reason they won those two games was not Eli Manning. It was their defensive line punching him in his pretty little face.
But it doesn't matter. We know that doesn't matter.
Look, the Super Bowl. First of all, in my opinion, the Super Bowl MVP is the worst award ever given out because of one thing, and it happened years ago. Who was the MVP of Super Bowl III?
Right.
Joe Namath. Who threw the only touchdown pass in Super Bowl III?
Johnny U.
Johnny Unitas. Who scored the only touchdown for the Jets? Matt Snell. And Joe Namath was the MVP.
Well, that was 45 years ago.
Yeah, but
I think the MVP has gotten a lot better since.
I don't know. I don't know. I can say that.
I mean, now I'm really going to kick myself if I'm mistaken here. But who was it? Who was the return guy from Green Bay that won the Super Bowl? Was it Desmond Howard?
Know who that? Yeah, it was. I was like, you fucking know who that was.
But what I'm saying is here you have a returner who's had a significant impact on winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And what I don't agree with is just giving the winning quarterback the MVP of the Super Bowl.
But that's what I'm saying. If you look at the last several years, not for nothing, Patty Mahomes' numbers have been pretty pedestrian in those Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he's gotten the W, but they've been pretty pedestrian. I'll go on a limb and say the year Foles was the MVP. Brady should have won it in a losing effort because he threw for over 500 yards. And I hate Tom Brady.
Yeah, but they threw for almost 1,000 combined.
Agreed.
And didn't Foles catch one too?
Yeah,
or that was the Philly play.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean,
and I get that there, but Eli won 2 Super Bowl MVPs to where he's not even in the game if they don't play the defensive game they do. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl MVP, but his defense is before the Beyonce thing was putting on a clinic.
Trent Dilfer, did he win the year they won? Or who won?
Ray Lewis won that one.
Ray Lewis did win that one. Okay.
But Dilfer was the one that said we're going to Disney World.
As he should have, because that defense was absolutely unbelievable. That reminded me of like the '85 Bears.
Larry Brown. I rest my case. Remember, Larry Brown had a pick 6 against Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl, won MVP, used it to basically get a massive contract, and didn't really do shit the rest of his career.
Oh, I was going to say, who are you talking about?
Exactly.
You're talking about the basketball coach?
Well, I mean, and you look at it, the guys who were offensive players that have won the MVP that weren't quarterbacks recently, I want to say Deion Branch is the most recent non-quarterback to win it, and that was because he set the record for most receptions in the Super Bowl. But what's taken away from that is the next year...
Edelman.
No, Edelman didn't win it. Brady won that one. No, Brady won that for when they beat Atlanta. I'm sorry, for when Atlanta fell on their face.
No, when they beat the Rams in the worst Super Bowl ever.
Was it Edelman?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're telling me in a 13-6 game, a wide receiver won the Super Bowl MVP? What are you, crazy?
And that's why it was the worst Super Bowl ever.
Mm-hmm. Personally, I think anyone that Brady won was the worst Super Bowl ever, but that's just me. And
how many Ohio State quarterbacks have Super Bowl wins?
That's not what I'm talking about. I grew up a Jet fan, and Brady's the son of a bitch from New England.
Quarterbacks have actually played in a Super Bowl as a quarterback.
None. I agree with you, 100%.
2 things I did not put on this list. We have to say we have a welcome back and a farewell in the world of basketball announcing as Dickie V returned tonight to call Duke and Clemson, although Clemson upsets number 2 Duke in a close one. Yeah, and my Florida Gators go into Auburn and clobber the number 1 team in the country. So that is twice this year that my Gators have actually beaten the number 1 team in the country and clobbered them both times. And tomorrow, after I want to say a 53-year career, Hubie Brown will call his final NBA game.
It's a Bucks game, right?
He will be
Wow.
he will be calling the Sixers game tomorrow with Mike Breen on ESPN. Hubie Brown is 91 years old and unfortunately had himself a very terrible last year, losing both his son and his wife last year.
Oof.
Oh,
Wow.
well, hats off to Hubie on his final game, and thank God Dickie V is back. But James, we're 2 hours and 11 minutes in. I believe it to be time for band practice.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is the YZ Translator. It is the moment when James and I give each other, and our guest, obviously, a name in or out of the sports world, and we come up with the first thing that pops into our head. So, John, we have actually given up on me going over all the wonderful things we've done in the past for what we are now calling the YZ Chronicle, as James has come up with chyrons before the translator that make you, well, usually make me fall over laughing. James, if you would please.
Tonight, we've got another supercut because this is this is rounding out the 10, so that's going to give me something to do tomorrow.
Cool. You asshole.
I can't, honestly, my screen's so small I can't read it. I can't even read it.
We asked our German friend for the square root of 81. They told us no. Nine. Dude, the one a few weeks ago, and I'm going to go into the story. So, Kaylin and the new girl in my office has a son very close to Bobby's age. So, her and Steph have hit it off and hang out and such. Well, someone had put on Kaylin's Facebook that it was her birthday, but it wasn't. So, my wife goes and decorates her whole desk. My wife came home with a keychain shaped like a dick. And we used it as fodder for the translator.
Definitely thought that story was going in a different direction.
Since I have everything archived, I will pull up what this was. The right show to watch when you have a dick-shaped keychain on your refrigerator.
It's on my fridge.
That's awesome.
So, James, it is incumbent upon me, as it has been every time we've done the translator, to give the first name out, and I'm going to go to you first, sir. And your name in tonight's YZ Translator is Luka Doncic.
We brought it up last week. LA needs a star. They trade for a star. He's hurt. They don't care. Really, how much are they going to be able to build around him when it's him and really nothing else?
Well, Austin
Reeves.
Reeves.
For the next few years?
Well, Austin Reeves is a good player. Dalton Connect. I think the best thing that happened to Luka is Dalton Connect came back.
For now.
Well, for now.
He'll be gone this off season. You honestly think you're going to pair you if you're banking on Luka, who's been a little injury prone the last 2 years, and Bronny?
Oh no. Bronny is not a cornerstone piece. I've said it before. He's a rotational piece. There's nothing wrong with that.
He's a back end guy in the G League.
Yeah, Michael Jordan's kid's a fucking cokehead who drove his Lamborghini on a set of railroad tracks.
Too early for flapjacks?
Never.
I'm just here for the breakfast. All I wanted was breakfast.
Now I'm craving Denny's.
Here we fucking go.
I ain't going to
never met
Waffle House, man. That ship has sailed.
Well, just wear Kevlar. The
Walmart down the street closed, man.
John, I will say this. I have never been more proud of someone who is as skinny as they are with the fat kid tendencies of this guy.
I don't know. Bringing back a name from the past, Eric Hoffman could put down some pancakes.
Oh, Jesus Christ, could he ever? Well, he had to feed himself then. He's a friggin' firefighter now.
Yeah.
John, on a somber note, did you actually see that one of our brethren from our class passed away last week?
I did see that. I did. And now that dude, my goodness, he had such a radiant smile, and
he did.
The courts would not have been the same without him. We
were talking about running in the East Gym with him.
Yeah, he was such a kind soul.
I still have his name, like in our yearbook. I put like everybody's nicknames underneath theirs, and I always remember everybody called him Baby Shaq. Because he was this little butterball dude, but man, could he ball.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun to play with.
And the funniest friggin' dude on the court, too.
Like I said, dude was always smiling. He was always smiling. He was good people. He was absolutely good people.
Absolutely.
Rest in peace, Robert Pollard.
Yeah.
So,
John,
James, your turn.
John, your first name in the YZ translator tonight. Could he be Cleveland bound with everything? Cooper Kupp.
I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, but overrated.
Hold on. There's no crap given about the translator outside of if it was trying to be funny and wasn't. We'll just bust your ass.
I honestly don't see the appeal in him. I think he's a product of a system, and if you remove him from that system, the product is no longer valuable.
My first thought, James, was great value Brian Hartline.
Yeah, and if he comes to Cleveland, he'll be absolute dog shit.
Yeah, Mike, we're not actually talking about the name that you brought up. College football's over. Nobody fucking cares anymore. Okay.
I meant his NFL production, but that's okay.
Okay. I kind of agree. I mean, naturally, since the injuries have set in, he's definitely not the player that he was. I will say, with their run to the Super Bowl, damn, was he good. But he's very Wes Welker, Edelman, undersized slot guy, always finds a way to get open, puts up huge numbers at that point, like impossible to defend. But I mean, how's the line go? Eventually, childhood fades when you stop playing with childish things, and you can't be playing with a guy who's basically the size of a plush toy and expect to compete.
Let me say this, as far as if he ends up in Cleveland, if Jerry Jeudy really has taken the step he never did in Denver, there's a place for him. Because if he's not the number one option, he can still be serviceable.
But when you have quarterbacks that can't even get off the number one option, there's
I'm
no
not
place.
Agreeing with you.
There's no place for a second or third receiver. They might as well just run 2 tight ends and 1 wide receiver. They might as well. They have one of the best running backs in the league when healthy. So just line up 2 tight ends with 1 receiver. You don't need any more receivers. They never throw to more than 1 receiver. So might as well just put 1 out there and just run that all day long. But
John, you're absolutely right, because when Watson was here, how many times did he spread the ball around? How many games did he actually play where, now granted, he wasn't hitting 200 yards, but it's like, how many times was he targeting multiple tight ends? How many times was he targeting more than 3 receivers? No, he was
Never.
locking in on Amari Cooper every single shot that he had.
And if you go back to those games, how many times did you have multiple receivers with 6 or more receptions?
Right.
It was like one receiver would have 8 or 9 receptions, and then the next closest would have like 2 or 3.
And that's where the staple of the 4 guys that are, that were in the Final Four. Jaden Daniels finds every single guy on the field. Josh Allen has basically made receivers relevant from being mid-round picks. Mahomes has basically turned guys into borderline Hall of Famers. Kelsey was good, but really it's his ability now with that offense and just how much more dangerous he is that he's turned himself into a Hall of Famer. Could he have gotten there before Mahomes? Possibly. He's definitely there now. Jalen Hurts, when you've got Barkley back there, you've always he's one of the guys that you can kind of lock in on because you've got basically the Bo Jackson cheat code of 2025.
Yeah, and I will say this. I think it's partially the quarterback that's been the problem. Because if you remember, and again, I go back to it because I'm a Baker bro, I know. Baker spread the ball around. And he spread the ball around in this offense. So, and for all of his shortcomings, and he had a lot of them when he was in Cleveland. I'm not saying that.
He's also short. He's also a short quarterback.
I know he is. But he spread the ball around. He did spread the ball around. And everybody got a bite of the apple when Baker was under center. He does it now in Tampa. Granted, he had nothing to throw to in Carolina, but I don't think anybody has anything to throw to in Carolina for years.
Since Smith.
Yeah. John, your turn, bud.
All right. I'm going to go back. Oh, wrong way. Back up this direction here. And I got to understand the clockwise, counterclockwise in the camera.
It's a good thing Alice didn't come because then we'd have another Brady Bunch missing.
So, Jim, my name for you in the YC Translator would be, in honor of the big upset today, John Shire.
I think he's right there of being. He's knocking on the door of being the best coach in the country, but now he's got college basketball's version of the cheat code. But he as great as Cooper Flagg is, he can't rely on him because he knows he's only got him for 1 year, and that's kind of unfortunately what he's done the first few years since taking over. He kind of leans on his stars a little too much and doesn't rotate out as well. I think he's got all the makings. Is he good? He's certainly not going to live up to Coach K, but I'd like to think that he's starting to creep up on, the Dan Hurleys and the Shaka Smarts of the world of getting to that point.
I like that take.
So it's back around to me, which means this one's for John.
Alrighty.
John, I am going to go later.
You said alrighty. I had to do the.
Jesus Christ, John,
Track
I am going.
Suck me right in.
He's an asshole, sir.
We're all assholes. All right, fuck us. Let's go. Fuck us.
Say fuck.
Fuck us. Back on track. Like a
Okay.
Like a Lamborghini on the track. Let's go. Back on them. Let's go.
It's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
It's a combination of my luggage. John.
Samsonite. I was way off. Sorry, go ahead.
John, your I want to hear your take on this one. And your name in the Wisey translator is Juan Soto.
Oh my god. Sometimes people need a translator that can spend $17 million of your own money.
Wow. Well, at least it feels not like Bobby Bowes.
No, yeah. But you know what, though? At the same time, it's like, give the man his money. He deserves every bit of it. I haven't heard his name and not be linked to success. So I would put him right up there with Ohtani, and that he's absolutely tier 1 for sure. If not even a step above with Ohtani and all that. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what this year brings.
I'm hoping good things.
I can't imagine you would expect anything else.
You know what? Without Alonso, I felt they were going to have problems.
But we've also seen them spend this level of money and finish in 4th place.
But we've seen them spend this level of money on 45-year-old pitchers and finish in 4th place.
We've also seen the Dodgers. We've also seen the Dodgers spend this level of money and not even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
it's going to come down to the same thing it comes down to every year with baseball: who's healthy and who's hot. I have no delusions. The Mets got to the LCS because they were a hot team going into the playoffs, not because they were better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And the Guardians have been there too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the last couple of years, the Guardians happen to do that quite frequently. They have a really, really piss poor first half of the season, and then after the All-Star break, they seem to light it up. I don't know if it's because of the weather, but if you think about it, they're not the only ones playing in that weather. They just happen to be the only ones that play like garbage in colder weather. So it's like they start off the season real crappy, then in the mid-season they play really well, and then they end the season kind of crappy. So, but we'll see how the Mets do. I think they're like drinking from the rich get richer fountain right now. So it's their division to lose. It's their everything to lose right now. So,
which means a lot more solo segments of Mike, because every time we talk college football, I've turned my camera off for the last month.
He turned mine off when I put the hat on last week.
That's hilarious.
He put I got the hat, the locker room hat from the championship, and of course I put it on last week to be an asshole. He turned my camera off.
Michael, I'm going to bring the mood down a little bit. This would have actually been nice had Alex been here, but unfortunately we lost somebody in the last 24 hours that really was that we've all seen at some point. Rest in peace, Dick Duran.
He had near-winning records in 2 places that at the time didn't win, in Chicago and in Buffalo. Great coach. But again, fell victim to 2 places that historically, other than spurts, haven't really been winning franchises. I mean, I saw that pop up before. I didn't realize he was that old.
Remember, he was also the D coordinator here for a couple of years.
Yeah. That was after 99, right?
Yes. I'm trying to remember.
Was he there with Chris? What's his name? The first coach?
No, I don't think it was Chris Palmer. I think it was later. I'm wondering if it might have been Mangini.
Was it Butch?
I thought it was Butch.
No, I don't know. I
Butch?
think it was later than that. I want to say he was
then probably Mangini.
I think it was
Mangini had Rob Ryan.
Now it's gonna make me want to look it up.
I'm doing that as we speak.
He's already on it, dude.
Defensive coordinator 2021 and 2022.
Wow.
So that would have actually made. First of all, they were 4-12 that year. Oh God.
He was with what's his name?
Pat Shurmur.
Pat Shurmur.
Yeah.
Don't do that anymore. The cat just did that in the other room. I got to clean it when we get done. Screw you, Ollie.
Finkel's Einhorn, Finkel, Einhorn. Einhorn is a man.
Where's the plunger?
Ace, do you have any more of that gum? No, I don't, and that's none of your damn business.
I'll beg you to stay out of my personal affairs.
Excuse me, your balls are showing. Bumblebee tuna.
Oh, we got more to put on the board, James. We got more to put on the board.
We'll be cutting a lot of film tomorrow.
Yeah. So, as we wrap up tonight's episode, we have to let you guys know we will not be on the air next week. For two reasons. There's a funny reason and a serious reason. James, if you would go over the funny reason, please, and then I'll go over the serious reason.
Well, next weekend will also be President's Day, and some of us will actually have, 3-day weekends. I will not be one of them, so we can actually pay tribute to great American presidents of the past, like Clinton, Obama, Reagan, Eisenhower, for you Al Bundy fans, Thomas Whitmore, Andrew Shepard,
Jed Bartlett. And now the serious reason that we are taking a week off is because James and I only write one show a year. There's only one show that has a script. There's only one show that ever has anything other than the stupidity coming out of our fucking mouths at any point in time. And that is episode 100, the 2025 Wisey Awards.
Wow.
Yes, and we are building this up tonight because, John, you're the one that gave us the asshole idea for this.
That was going to be the tagline for the six-pack is, hey, John, where were you for this?
Sorry, not sorry.
So here, the great ideas have come out of the wise guy. We have, the translator came out of him comparing Jacoby Brissett to Sonika Wallace. The Wisies came out of us joking someone should give him an award, and John going, you guys should do an award show, and Jim and I going like this.
Off air, which lasted an extra hour after our show ended.
Yes. Not translator, but the Chiron was because making me laugh is the opening of the entire show. But the Wisey Awards this year are going to be special. It is episode 100. If you'd have told me when I asked Jim to be on Big Rican in October of 2020, that it would turn into 100 episodes of unadulterated fun with somebody I've known for 3 decades, I would have told you there's no fucking way.
Including
and yet here we are.
Live in-person version of somebody getting on the plane for the first time in 20 years.
Yes. Yes, so we're going to take next weekend, and we are going to write the Wisies, and we will come to you on Sunday night, February the 23rd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time with all the hoopla and all the fucking stupidity we can find. My personal favorite award we've given out now, this year will be our second inductee into the Wisey Hall of Fame. The first inductee, of course, is the clit jersey worn by the Charlotte Hornets. John, we were telling jokes about that this year.
Really?
Yeah, that's got some serious fucking legs to it.
Wow. Still has legs. Wow.
Yes.
I mean, they don't wear it anymore, so I mean, it's kind of cut off at the knees.
Skirt could
Say
be longer, but
say it, fucker. Say it. Dance,
It's also spread at the knees, but that's not the point of this. This is where
sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Asking ye shall receive.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. You have to
So-
stop the Q-tip when there's resistance.
Ah, yes.
So we will have our normal serious categories. Best trade, worst trade, best team, best story, but we always sprinkle in a few different things to just make you laugh. Like my favorite was when we did worst transaction the year the Browns traded for Billy. And when Jim highlights the picture of the winner, it is actually Bill Cosby's face on Deshaun Watson's jersey. No idea. Did we ever tell you about the shoes we were going to make?
Jesus Christ.
I don't think
We
so.
were going to have a kid we went to school with, Aaron. We were going to ask and try and commission Aaron Seacrest to paint a pair of spikes and send them to Deshaun, where one would be a picture of Bill Cosby, the other would be two pudding pops.
Oh my gosh.
I thought
Mike, we were not allowed to paint them Diddy this year.
Well,
No.
here's my question.
No,
Here's my
that's
question.
up the shark, dude. No.
No.
Michael,
Here's my question.
no.
With
No.
their penchant for overlooking these things.
No, I'm cutting his mic. No.
With their penchant to make transactions of people who do those things, do you think Justin Tucker is the next kicker for the Cleveland Browns?
Wow.
Much like the the Wisey Chronicle of me drinking a certain beverage, Michael, shut up. Michael, shut up. Michael, shut up.
So, John, thanks for coming on tonight, buddy. Obviously, it's an open invite whenever you got a minute. As he drinks from the Eagles cup.
No subliminal messages.
None. Why, when you did that, did I see the part in Wayne's World when they said they're not going to do advertising? And
Eating out of the Doritos bag and the Pizza Hut box and the Pepsi.
I can't take this anymore. Here, try these.
New
Little, yellow, different.
We watched that movie, and then now we actually think of what's her name, Tara Moon or
Tia
Tara
Carrera?
No, Tara, the girl from Instagram, like things we did back in the 90s.
Oh, I think so.
That girl.
Oh my
Did
gosh.
you know the Garth thing when he beats on the hammer on the hand? Totally ad-libbed.
Oh.
They had to shoot it 4 times because Rob Lowe could not stop laughing.
Oh my gosh.
Much like, moron.
We should do the Scooby-Doo ending.
God, I always remember, like, when he's getting out of the car and he's walking, like, so gingerly during that.
Because of the cavity search?
Uh-huh.
If James was an ice cream flavor, he'd be pralines and dick. So, John, thank you again. As always, open invitation. Next time you get here, we will definitely have to have a 4 Horsemen episode.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime. James, I will talk to you tomorrow to help me set up the blog. And obviously, we'll be writing the show for the next week and a half.
although it's basically going to turn into like it's only going to take us about an hour to do this. It's going to take me about an hour to do graphics, and then it's going to be about 3 hours of just bullshit.
Basically.
So, John, again, thank you for coming on, my friend. We always love having these little brush reunions.
I appreciate you guys.
Everybody, if you watch the game tomorrow, enjoy your holiday weekend next weekend, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks for 100. And I'm going to have a lot of video to cut tonight and an even bigger intro for 2 weeks for in 2 weeks.
See you guys.
Good night, everybody.
Adios.